Well, howdy and happy fall, y'all. I'm Aunt Ruthie from Sugar Pie Farmhouse, and that's the name of my blog too. So if you love what you see here today, then you can head on over to sugarpiefarmhouse.com. Well, I am so happy that you're here, and I hope that you are doing well. So I've had a doozy of a year, and I'm sure that you did too. I hope that you find a little comfort and a little joy as I open my home up to you and share with you God's goodness and the glorious beauty that He has created for us to enjoy in this autumn season. So grab something yummy to drink and get nice and cozy as I hope to bring you some down-home cheer. It's apple picking time in my front entry. My vignette centers around this darling Currier and Ives print. I love it so much, I want to marry it. This print is called American Homestead Autumn. It's of a family picking apples in their own orchard, and it depicts how life really was back in the day. Papa is up on the ladder picking the high ones, and Mama is on the ground with the children filling up baskets. No doubt she made all kinds of delicious goodness with the bounty of their apple harvest. Apple pie, apple fritters, applesauce, apple cake, apple jelly, dried apples, apple butter, baked apples with brown sugar and walnuts, apples in her roast pork, and sweet little apple ham pies. I wanted my autumn decor to reflect the scene of this endearing picture: a basket of apples, autumn leaves the color of butterscotch, an apple branch, a picnic basket, and a throw, and of course Papa's hat. Did you know that Currier and Ives was an American printmaking company from 1835 to 1907? They produced illustrated prints by commissioned artists that were then hand-colored. This firm was owned by Nathaniel Currier and James Ives. It's such a rich look into our American history. The quilts hanging on the old orchard ladder are from the 1800s, so they fit right in to my little vignette. The orchard ladder was found on the property where my house sits, which used to be an old cattle farm dating back to the Civil War. This sweet print makes me think of the Johnny Appleseed song. We used to sing it after saying grace with our kids, and still do sometimes when the whole family gathers for a meal, grand sugars and all. Oh, the Lord is good to me, and so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and the rain and the apple seed. I purchased a vintage paper print of this scene and then had it enlarged and put on to a 24 by 36 canvas. It turned out beautiful. The company that I used was Easy Canvas Prints. A couple years ago, a sweet friend of mine sent me this beautiful burlap banner that she painted. Autumn skies and pumpkin pies. It's so me. I paired this endearing quote with some pumpkins on cake stands and a darling garland of pumpkin pie slices that my daughter found for me at TJ Maxx. She was shopping and called to tell me all about the garland, knowing that I would love it. I told her to bring it on home to Mama, stat. Well, here's a close-up of this darling felt pumpkin pie slice garland with a dollop of whipped cream on each slice. Adorable! You can find similar ones on Etsy. Well, sisters, you know that I love everything farmy, right? Well, what's more farmy than a hayride? This year I gathered some vintage goodies, including a faux straw bale that I've had for years and years, and a cowbell, a pitchfork, grain scoop, and a bushel basket. I tossed in some pumpkins and a gourd, fall leaves, and a wispy wreath. Speaking of hayrides, do you have my Pumpkin Pickin' and Hayrides ebook? Well, it's a wagon load of harvest time ideas to cozy up your home, fun family traditions, yummy recipes, and nostalgic delights to warm and bless your heart. And I even include a countdown to Thanksgiving. I share tips on how to prepare as much as you can in advance for Thanksgiving Day so that you're not feeling stressed and anxious and running around at the last minute like an old wet hen. No, I want you to have a joyful and peaceful Thanksgiving filled with lots of fun and blessings. Right next to my pantry screen door, I have a chalkboard that I write on with sentiments for the seasons. This little phrase is something I wrote when I was writing my fall ebook, Pumpkin Pickin' and Hayrides. And it says, I think it's so adorable that God thought of pumpkins. There's something so whimsical and darling about pumpkins. They come in all sizes and shapes, and they're just the cutest. One little pumpkin on a plate in the middle of your kitchen table will be enough to make your heart smile. Thank you, Lord, for creating those adorable pumpkins. My dear darling sister friend Melissa from Huckleberry Prairie on Instagram made these hand-stitched pie and chicken ornaments for me. They add a happy, homey touch. How would you like a little peeky inside my pantry? Well, let's go inside. Now get ready for my favorite part. It's the squeaky screen door. Isn't that just the cutest sound? When I designed my pantry, I wanted it to look like an old general store. On the counter, I keep an old white enamel pan filled with clothespins to clip tight bags of chips and snacks. This little nook is going to be my bread baking corner. I'm getting a grain mill to grind wheat berries into flour to make my own bread. I've got wheat berries ready to go in these jars. Hard white wheat for breads and rolls, and soft white wheat for pastries, cakes, and cookies. There are so many nutrients and health benefits in the wheat berry, and I've learned so much from Sue Becker from the Bread Beckers, and you can find her here on YouTube. My grain mill should be arriving soon, and I can't wait to get started. I have this really cute 100-year-old butter churn, and I really want to make butter in it. I've scrubbed and cleaned the paddles, and I'm just not sure if they're clean enough for me to eat from them. Can you give me some suggestions on how to make sure that it's completely sanitized and safe to eat from? This is the pass-through window that makes it easy to pull things from the shelves and pass them through into the kitchen. The old-fashioned gingham curtains keep the pantry from looking too cluttered. Behind the curtains, I'm storing cookware like crock pots, roasting pans, paper goods, extra mason jars, platters, and trays, and things like that. I wanted my pantry large enough so that I could have it stocked with plenty of food in case we were snowed in or if the roads were covered in black ice. That way we would have enough to keep us fed for a few days or share with a friend in need. Now with predicted food shortages, it's going to come in handy again. You know that I have to share my favorite Susan Branch calendar. It adds such old-fashioned goodness and hominess to my kitchen. It delights my heart every time I see it. The quote right by the pie says, "And so many orchards circled the village that on some crisp October afternoons the whole world smelled like pie." Alice Hoffman. This old farm table has seen some happy days. The Chicken Sisters are staying cozy underneath it on this brisk and blustery fall day. And my mother-in-law's butter churn sits close by. The little cupboard on top of the table is actually a pie safe. The screen was torn off, but there are remnant pieces left which tell the story of what it was. And baking days are here. The weather outside is getting chilly in the Ozarks, which makes baking up some snickerdoodles, ginger snaps, pumpkin bread, and pumpkin pie sound like a wonderful idea. Oh, the aroma that's about to swirl in our kitchens. If you've seen my other videos, then you've seen this sweet log cabin cookie jar. I decorate with it a lot. It reminds me of the Ingalls cabin from Little House on the Prairie, and it just makes me feel warm and cozy inside. In the pie safe, I've placed a jar of Amish local honey, my grandmother's wooden spoon, which has stirred gallons of spaghetti sauce. She was from Sicily, Italy. And I also have a cute faux pumpkin pie in a vintage pie rack. See those wee little butter-colored pumpkins and the white one too? Well, I grew them in my own pumpkin patch. Their sweetness rings joy bells in my heart. And this beautiful yellowware bowl I got in Arkansas. It's very old, and I'm sure it was a workhorse for a rosy-cheeked, apron-wearing mama back in the day. The scale hanging on the side of my baking center used to hang in my hubby's childhood kitchen. He lived in an old log house in the mountains of Idlewild, California. I love that I get to hang it in my kitchen too. I decided to line my sweet little gathering baskets on my baking center shelves with vintage-looking homespun fabric. I chose fabrics with a primitive 1800s Little House on the Prairie feel. I had Mrs. Olson and her mercantile in mind. At Hobby Lobby, I found brown plaids, ginghams, and ticking stripe fabrics for 50% off. And when I laid the fabric bolts on the cutting counter in a tall stack, they looked just like they came from Mrs. Olson's store. And you know, that made me happy. Notice the sign in the back. Yardage, fancy, and plain. Well, I went with the plain. One little tip that I want to share with you is that I put a dab of brown and black craft paint on the shiny brass fastener attached to the handle. It gives the basket a more quality look and adds a vintage touch too. Here's what it looks like on the other side, very shiny and new. Now, it looks a bit more aged. The Lord brought to my heart the word wholehearted recently, and I've been meditating on it and looking up scriptures too. And it means to be completely and sincerely devoted, determined and enthusiastic. It means to be committed with all your heart. Matthew 22:37 through 38 says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment." In Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it wholeheartedly, as though you were doing it for the Lord and not merely for people." God wants us to live wholeheartedly to have an abundant life. This applies to every area of our lives: our relationship with Jesus, taking care of our family and home, and taking care of our health too, to name a few. The opposite of wholehearted is half-hearted. I don't want my devotion to God to be half-hearted. I don't want to be half-hearted in caring for my home or my family. I don't want to be half-hearted in caring for my health either. It's a daily and sometimes a minute-by-minute decision. We need to stand firm, ask God for strength, and not abandon our post when difficulties, disappointments, and challenges arise. Let's love the Lord in our family and our home wholeheartedly, and we will reap a harvest of blessings. This old cupboard came from my hubby's childhood home, and I am blessed to have it. It's where I store some of my favorite cookbooks, my brown transferware dishes, my large mason cash bowl that I use for mixing my mom's Thanksgiving sausage stuffing every year. To the right of the cupboard is a little play nook for my grand sugars. After hugging me at the door, that's the first place they run to go play. It's filled with toys, books, games, coloring, and craft supplies. They love this cozy little nook. As mothers and grandmothers, we are setting the stage for a happy home life. The things we do today will contribute to our family's memories tomorrow. There's a quote by Gina Pearson, and it's so thought-provoking. It goes like this: "It's impossible to harvest something you don't plant." Darling, if we want to look forward to a bountiful harvest of joyful blessings in our family, let's plant thankfulness, goodness, and a celebration of life in our homes. Well, I want to give you a little peek at my fall ebook, Pumpkin Pickin' and Hayrides. It's everything I love about fall: the beauty, the glory, the starry-eyed passion that I have for gathering autumn goodness to adorn my home and making my nest warm and cozy before the blustery winds of winter chill the air. As mama hens, we love that feeling of being prepared, having all of our needful provisions stocked and ready in our snug homes. And when the icy frost sparkles on our window panes, we'll be simmering hearty soups and baking old family recipes, scrumptious cookies and delicious pies, to bless and nourish your family and mine. Throughout the ebook, I've sprinkled old-time photos and images, along with ideas and recipes of the good old days, to remind us of the goodness of old-fashioned fall fun. These pages will hug your heart with the comforts of hearth and home. Darling, it's dripping with nostalgia like sweet golden honey from a hot buttermilk biscuit. My hope is that this ebook of fall wonderfulness would make you feel delightfully and joyfully domestic as you cozy up your home so you and your family would wholeheartedly enjoy this delicious fall season. I printed the pages from my fall ebook on my printer, and then I put them inside page protectors, and then I tied them with ribbon to bind them together. I also share a recipe for Granny's Secret Apple Pudding Cake. This dreamy recipe came from an old newspaper clipping. The day I made it, my daughter and I took a bite of the sweet, warm gooiness, and together our eyes got big as saucers and our mouths squealed, "Oh my goodness." I think I know why Granny kept this a secret. It's fabulous. Mama's Warm Your Tummy Cold Day Soup is our go-to minestrone soup for those cold, blustery days. I'll leave a link below in case this happens to be your cup of tea. Well, thank you so much for watching my video, and if you liked it, I'd sure appreciate a thumbs up. And thank you all so much for all of the sweet comments that you've left for me. They just bless my heart so much. I wish that I could just give y'all a great big hug right now. Well, be sure to check out my links below, and I have several Amazon shops, and they're so cute. I've curated the cutest things that I could find on Amazon, and some of the shops' names are Mama's Country Kitchen, that's probably my favorite, Farmhouse Christmas, Happy Fall Y'all, Farmhouse Washroom. Oh, there's just a ton. So be sure to check those out, and be sure to head over to Instagram, because that is where I spend most of my time. Unfortunately, I just can't be everywhere. And so Instagram is one application that is very easy for me to get on and share kind of behind the scenes and things like that. So if you love my message, you want to hear more, Instagram is the place to go. And also, like I mentioned at the very beginning, you can head on over to my blog too. I have probably 10 years worth of archives that you can read, and my whole message is just encouraging women to turn their hearts toward home and to create a place that their family loves to be. So anyway, I'm an old-fashioned girl. I love doing my apron. I like to make pies. I love decorating my home. But most of all, I love creating a warm and cozy atmosphere for my family. Well, stay safe, dear ones, and God bless your darling heart. And y'all come back now, you hear?